Any other questions? Yes?
Are most insurance companies covering this? Or just
They're
like
getting, yeah. Insurance coverage, they're getting there. I'd say most of them are not yet. Some of them are getting into we'll cover it on special cases. They'll cover it for anesthesia, because we can use acupuncture for anesthesia for like heart surgeries or brain surgeries. So that way the patient doesn't have to use any kind of medication. So if somebody, especially if somebody that has allergic reactions to some of the medications, we can use the acupuncture for anesthesia. So there's a lot of insurance companies that are covering that. There's a lot of insurance companies that are covering it for chronic problems. Okay, you've had low back pain, you've had it for 3 years, you've gone through all the other stuff. Okay, now they'll allow you to do acupuncture. So it's getting there. It's slow but sure. Chiropractic is pretty much covered in all the insurance companies now. 15 years ago, that wasn't the case. Kind of the same way as acupuncture. They start doing it a little bit, and then eventually everybody's going to catch on to it. Again, a lot of that comes from the patients. Before, when, like, let's say you work for a big corporation and you work for Ralston Purina, you've got 3,000 employees. An insurance company comes into that business and says, okay, we're Blue Cross Blue Shield. We want you guys to sign up with us. And then there's another United Healthcare's over here and they say, well, no, we want you to sign up with us. So those 3,000 people have to make a decision. So which one looks better to them? Okay, so a lot of those people were saying, well, we like your insurance, but we also want chiropractic because we know chiropractic works and it's helped us in the past. So Blue Cross Blue Shield says, okay, we'll include chiropractic. So now all of a sudden, everybody's going to Blue Cross Blue Shield. So now United Healthcare says, okay, well, if you guys are doing it, we're going to do it too, so we can get more people to buy our insurance. So that's what they call, a consumer-based driven. Consumers are saying, hey, we want this, so the insurance companies start covering it. So I think with the acupuncture, that'll happen eventually too. If they can sell more insurance policies by including it, then they'll start adding it. So just a little shift, they call it, dynamic shift. Okay. Any other questions?
Can I ask you how time plays into acupuncture? Is there a certain amount of time the patient's there with the needles, or is it different for each disease process?
Most times when a patient comes in, we're going to do a chiropractic adjustment, which that takes a few minutes. That doesn't take very long. And then we put the acupuncture needles in, and they would keep those in for about 10-15 minutes on most cases. And then after that, we would do some electrical muscle stimulation or some do some muscle work or some trigger point therapy, whatever, if we need to do that, which that might be another 15-20 minutes of there. So the average patient comes in about 30 minutes for treatment. There are some cases, if it's a really tough case, then we will, it might be 20 minutes with the needles or 30 minutes with the needles. We had a lady that came in yesterday. She's pregnant, and they're going to chemically induce, to have the baby today. She came in yesterday. She didn't want to do that. She preferred to do it more natural, so we did acupuncture on her to induce labor. So in her case, we did the needles for 30 minutes. And then we also did the moxa on it to kind of help to stimulate it to get things going, because we wanted to get that baby out without having to use the drugs in order to induce it. So I haven't heard yet if she had it.
I was just about to say, did it
Yeah.
work?
I haven't heard yet. When we were doing the acupuncture, she could feel the baby move. So, so there's definitely something going on. So we're hoping, knock on wood, that it came out that way. A lot of times with inducing labor, it might take 1 to 3 visits. We do morning sickness. We've had people come in for morning sickness. 2 treatments, they never have the sickness again. We can turn breech babies, help with fertility, kinds of things. Yes?
Do you see a rise in like pediatric?
Mm-hmm.
I know my daughter, when she was 6 months old, she had repeated ear infection, and one of my friends, I didn't believe in chiropractors back then.
Right.
One of my friends said, take her here. And the doctors couldn't keep her fevers down, they couldn't keep her out of the hospital or anything, they were talking to. So I took her in one adjustment,
Yeah.
and she was fine.
Yeah. So she's asking about pediatrics with the chiropractic and with the acupuncture. We see a lot of babies with ear infections, the big one. Also colicky babies, or people babies that are constantly getting sick. Especially with ear infections. Again, if you go back to this nervous system, okay, this very top vertebrae, the nerves that come out between the skull and the vertebrae go to the ears and go to the eyes. Okay, so if that communication is not 100%, the brain will send a signal down through the nervous system to check on that ear. Is there anything going on? If it doesn't hear anything back, it says, okay, fine, we're going to the next section. So, you know, your brain is constantly monitoring your whole system, you know, checking to make sure, you know, the liver's working, make sure the heart's working, is there any infections in here, is there any, you know, bacteria that we need to clear up. So if the brain sends that impulse down and it doesn't get to the ear, and it doesn't say, hey, we've got a problem down here, then the body just moves on, then that bacteria starts to build up, and that's when you start getting infections. So you can take antibiotics all day, but if it doesn't clear that up, the body doesn't clear it up, then you're going to just keep those infections coming back. So we do a chiropractic adjustment, especially on that C1. Now all of a sudden the brain can communicate, and it says, oh, hey, we've got bacteria down here, so let's send down some macrophages and some different, you know, cells that can go in there and clean it up, and it cleans it up. So we do a lot with ear infections. Yes?
For use like ADHD and that kind of thing, I know
Yep.
my best friend's son benefited from chiropractic, but what about
Acupuncture, same way, yeah. ADHD, same kind of thing. It's that C1. That's usually the main problem. With your nervous system, you've got your autonomic nervous system. You've got your sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight. So if you go back into the woods, you know, a bear is chasing you, okay, your sympathetic nervous system kicks in, okay. So the blood flow goes to your legs and to your arms, so you can either fight the bear or you can run away from the bear. Also, your eyes dilate so that you can see better. And so your sympathetic goes way up and your parasympathetic goes way down. Okay? Sympathetic is fight or flight. Parasympathetic is wine and dine, we call it. Okay? So when you're relaxed, okay, your sympathetic comes down, your parasympathetic comes up. You're relaxed. There's no harm coming to you. That's when you would eat. That's when your food would get digested. So all the blood is concentrated on your intestines and your stomach. Okay, so you can digest all that. Take care of all the little things that need to get taken care of because now it's downtime. Basically, bear comes back out again. Okay, the blood goes back to the legs, goes back to the arms. So now, so it's constantly going back and forth whenever you need it. C1 is a big controller of the sympathetic nervous system. So if that vertebrae gets out of place and pinches on that nerve, or the brainstem actually goes through the C1 also, you're constantly giving stimulation to that fight or flight in that sympathetic nervous system. So your child is constantly up here all the time. So you adjust that C1, take the pressure off that nervous system, now everything starts to come back to the balance.
is it effective enough in your experience that patients been able to come off of medication?
Yeah, I've got a lot of kids that have come off medications with that. Yeah. And then there's some acupuncture points that we use. Now when it comes to kids, I'm not going to use needles with kids. I'm going to use more of the laser usually with that. And we just go to some points in the ears to stimulate some of those points, and that's going to help settle that back down. So we've got a lot of kids that have come off medications. We've got a lot of adults that have come off medications. You know, we've got people, especially with diabetes, you know, they're taking a lot of insulin. Now we start to bring the blood sugar back under control, and they can start reducing. You know, they may not go off it completely, but at least they can reduce it some.
So does it work for high blood pressure?
High blood pressure,
acid
cholesterol.
reflux?
Yeah, acid
Urinary
reflux.
reflux.
Yeah.
How successful have you been, or do you have track record on doing whatever to get people to quit smoking?
Okay.